There is someone who everybody in the camp doesn't want around. They shout him out. They just keep shouting at him. All of them. Until that guy leaves. They don't need things. Or they do, but they don't need it for that purpose. Leaving. That's all I have to say.
Number 7. Where are you? Go for it.
Mic check.
I don't know. I hear y'all talking about cops. And rules against stuff. Well, you guys can't really control what people want to do. The alcoholics are going to drink alcohol. The potheads are going to smoke pot.
Number.
We have got a lot of people. In this 99%. We need to convince to bring onto our side. People who we have no means of enforcement over. People who are often a lot less rational than the drunks and potheads that are sullying this movement.
People who are often a lot less rational. Young and potheads were sullying.
So, I think we got to go back to rationale. I don't think we should go and make a rule against drinking and smoking pot. I think we should enforce that when bad
Mic check. I am seeing a large influx of folks who want to move on to the next point. Thank you for your point.
Okay.
Number 8. Are we on 8?
Yep.
8.
Mic check.
Number 8. I'm sorry. Say again.
Situations. I think need to be cleaned up a little better. For sanitation reasons. For obvious reasons.
This is not the time.
I propose
People help out a little bit more with the hygiene
that people help out a little bit more with the hygiene
in the restrooms.
in the restrooms.
What a process.
Okay. And as a general reminder, please mic check so that people can get your comments in the notes if you're far back. We're on number 9, I think. Number 9.
Mic check. I'd like to address a lot of people's points. In that us all being educated. And aggressive. About helping others to be as educated as we are. Can help more. Than being aggressive towards others. The police have to be very patient. In dealing with people who keep getting kicked out. If they can be patient. And still break so many laws. I'm sure we can do better. Walmart leaders for sure.
Better than Walmart. Number 10.
Mic check. I understand the concerns. With safety, drugs, and alcohol. My biggest concern is that this is a public park. We cannot enforce our private preferences in public space. Even though we're occupying. The park is still public. While we may want to remove people from the park, we have no authority to do so. There are exceptions when safety is at risk. For instance, the gentleman who pulled a knife or scissors the other day. In those situations, I feel this proposal is well warranted. With one exception. I do not feel that anybody in camp, including peacekeepers, should use force to enforce something that we don't have the authority to enforce. On that note, I would like to find out a temperature check, I guess. On how many people here are more comfortable utilizing internal means with these safety concerns as opposed to when they reach that final level having police intervene. In some situations police won't intervene. For instance, smoking marijuana. The best you could hope for is a ticket. On the other hand, if they're doing something more dangerous, like shooting up heroin in camp, the police have stated that upon our request, they will come in and assist us.
Okay, so there have been a lot of concerns brought up. I know the folks who brought the proposal have talked about some of these at length and may have some ideas. So I'm going to hand it over to them to address the things that they've already been discussing, and then we're going to open it up for 10 minutes of evolution and discussion, and then we're going to test for consensus, and maybe we'll do a time check. Right now it's 8:15, so we have this space until 10. We also have another proposal, and we have some more announcements that need to get made, so I just want to be conscious of time. So I'm going to hand it over now. And I would remind folks again, if you are bringing up concerns, think about some small amendments that can be made to the proposal that might address those concerns, just in the interest of moving us toward a decision that we can all feel good about.
Is that right? Before calling peacekeeper, we would attempt to, as a community, shout the person down.
Can people hear me? No. Mic check.
Mic check.
From what I understood, the main point was that verbal tactics would be used before any sort of physical tactics.
So
This can be clarified with calling. As a proposal.
I wonder if we should, if the person who originally raised this proposal isn't here, I wonder if we should put it aside for a moment and figure out the rest of the proposal, like the core part of it, and when he comes back we can revisit. Is that okay? Okay, thanks. Number three on staff.
Hello. So my amendment is that if a person is deemed to be unwelcome in the camp, that they be barred from the kitchen and the coffee shop, and otherwise barred from participation in anything else in the camp, because I feel that physically removing people from this public park is an unenforceable rule to make. And the only real things that we can do here is to socially ostracize somebody and excommunicate them, because we are not cops, and putting your hands on anybody without their permission can be considered assault. So that's my opinion.
Can I get a quick temperature check on the idea of adding this to the language of the people who are kicked out or barred from the kitchen and coffee shop? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of agreement. So, right. Okay, so let's add this. Is that okay? We add this in. Let's seeing agreement, not seeing concerns. So let's move on to the next in the stack, number 4. Is number 4 still with us?
What number are you here from? The person I said was 5 is actually 6. 5's over here.
Mic check.
Mic check.
I would like to expand. On Colin's proposal. Because it's the ideal step. Next to what I wanted to propose. Step 1. As stated should be. Asking the person to stop. Step 2. Should be as stated. Getting other people, 2 or 3. To participate. I propose. Step 3. Involves the consensus of the community. In responding. With some chance. That we decide. Means to leave. That we all unanimously. Chant to show they're unwelcome. If we are unable to resolve it, then I propose that peacekeeping gets involved, but not to enforce, but instead to facilitate further action, such as calling in the police. I do not believe that we should ever authorize peacekeepers to put their hands on anybody.
The second piece was for peacekeepers not to touch anyone. Can I get a temperature check on that? Cool. Okay. Is that our staff? Do we have more people on staff?
There was one more issue in that was that it had escalated that they would then call in law enforcement.
That.
Okay, I'd like to make a clarification, and that is, in the heat of the moment, what you are proposed, or your amendment is suggesting is that our safety team is never allowed to touch the individual, and we, as a GA, are going to somehow prevent them taking autonomous action to not touch an individual.
Direct response. There's mic check. There's safety issues. That will result in touching. If somebody has a gun. No rule's going to stop you. From touching them. And I don't mean to imply that.
I do mean to say.
That if we're going through these steps. Clearly that's not the case. And therefore. Touching them would not be authorized. If we've gone through 4 steps. Clearly it's not an emergency.
So I think this has been a really good evolutionary process, and I think people are bringing a lot of great additions to this that we've seen agreement on. So I'd like to kind of move us in the direction of a decision.
There's one person who got stacked late, which is generally a no-no, but they come here a bunch of times and lobby for themselves, so I'm very short of you.
Okay, one last short comment.
Okay, so I'm the guy that talked about the problem that we had. If you recognize me. Sorry, I was gone. I had to continue on with my safety checking, keeping people safe, preventing possible potential problems. Sorry, guys. Is that better? Yeah. All right. So sorry, I left for a minute. I have to continue on with my safety duty, which is to prevent and keep you guys safe, because I love you guys, and peace and love, and it's a beautiful thing. Anyways, I'm here because I would like to, in direct response, answer the thing about what you guys said about potentially yelling out the person. That is not a result. That is not an answer. Simply due to the fact that if you guys do not want violence, it is a very risky thing to do, because most people know someone that's going to get yelled at by a shitload of people isn't going to respond, hey, okay. He's going to be like, oh shit, I'm going to fight it now. Okay, so you guys get my point?
Yes.
Show me some fingers. Show me some fingers. I heard that from a few people, so I was concerned. It was more of a concern. Okay, and so I was thinking this is my proposal to you guys. It's just kind of a last minute idea. Instead of chanting, like that works too, that will be a great solution. Hopefully it works. But also I was thinking about making some kind of a system, maybe agreeing with the law or agreeing with the police, maybe having some people that are trained in this kind of stuff so that they can legally remove someone from the camp. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but if you like it, give me some fingers. And yeah. And anybody who has a question for me, I'm here now, so come talk to me.
All right. So the way that our decision-making process works is that we have a call for stand-asides. And if you are standing aside, it means that you don't agree with the proposal, you don't want to go ahead with it. You're going to just stand aside if you recognize there's a lot of agreement for something, but it goes against like your personal values and the way that you like to live. You can remove yourself from that decision and just stand aside and say, I don't agree with it, but I see the bigger picture. I see that it's the will of the group, so you can go ahead with it. I'm just standing aside. And then we're going to check for serious concerns, meaning there's a reason you think that this proposal would be in total violation of the values and principles of Occupy Portland, and it's just such a gross violation that it should not go ahead. And then we check for agreement. So there was a lot of agreement for the proposal itself. There have been some friendly amendments that have been made along the way that there has also been agreement for, but we're just going to re-clarify those here. We're going to restate them, and then we're going to check for agreement and see if we can make a decision.
Okay, so I'm going to go over the principles of safety, well-being, and solidarity. This is the first half of the proposal. Acting in solidarity with the Occupy movement, we pledge to recognize our responsibility to our community, which means occasionally putting personal freedoms second to the safety and well-being of all. We are a weapons-free zone. We are nonviolent, and we will not tolerate verbally aggressive and physically violent behavior. We pledge to resolve any conflicts that arise in a creative and nonviolent manner. This was amended from verbally violent to verbally aggressive behavior. In communal areas, no recreational drug or alcohol use. We recognize that a safe space is needed for card-carrying medical marijuana patients. We respect the rights and privacy of our fellow occupiers and our neighbors. We will not create unnecessary disturbances. Degrading ethnic, racist, classist, sexist, or homophobic remarks are not acceptable. We cannot permit open flames or other hazardous activities. We agree to direct all cigarette smoking to the corner of Southwest 4th and Main and will provide rain shelter for those who wish to smoke. We encourage everyone to follow health and sanitary recommendations throughout camp. By entering Occupy Portland, you agree to abide and uphold these guidelines. The actions are to create signage to be posted at every entrance and throughout camp showing guidelines and safety information, and to educate, promote, and train all Occupy Portland members on these guidelines, as well as conflict resolution, which an amendment was made to include greeters throughout to inform everyone of these guidelines. And the steps for dealing with threats to safety and well-being are that if you observe a threat to the safety and well-being of occupied Portland, a disregard for any of the guidelines, you assess your personal safety and decide if A, the situation is safe for you, know that you are empowered to tell that person to kindly stop the behavior and inform them of these community agreements as well as other alternatives. Offer alternatives. And if the behavior is unsafe for you and you do not feel comfortable intervening, call safety by mic checking Peacekeeper. If you approach the person and the threat continues, ask for community support, 2 to 3 others, but not a mob, and reapproach the person posing the threat. The focus is to address the behavior. Repeat the request kindly and continue to offer alternatives. If that doesn't work, the third step, which is now a new amendment, is to create a chant, and as a community, chant that person to the point where they will hopefully leave camp.
And I would propose there that all these also we follow our own judgment. Like if chanting doesn't seem like is the right next step, we should move forward. It feels that the next step, like safety. Yeah, if you don't feel safe, you're not gonna start chanting. These are not necessary steps, right? These are guidelines for us.
Okay, so basically, if the situation does escalate, while providing support, we call safety in by mic checking Peacekeeper until a safety volunteer arrives. And at that point, while providing support, we allow the safety volunteer to de-escalate the situation and use their discretion.
Right? Sorry, I don't confuse you guys. So we have an amendment, another piece or another amendment that says or prohibits physical contact from safety.
Was that agreed? No. Okay, so that was not part of the amendment. Okay, no amendment. Basically, yeah. Okay, so while providing support, allow the safety volunteer to de-escalate the situation and use their discretion. Our community empowers and supports our safety volunteers in deciding if police need to be called in. We cannot allow trauma or tragedy to happen in our camp. Otherwise, the game is over. If the threatening behavior continues to disrupt the safety and well-being of our community, the person will be asked to leave the camp. For this, we will act together as a community and non-violently, hopefully be able to chant the person out.
So we're going to move into a decision on the proposal broadly. So first I'm going to ask for stand-asides. Were there any stand-asides? One stand-aside? Two stand-asides? Okay, so we're just noting there's 3 stand-asides in the proposal. Okay, are there any serious concerns? People feel like this goes against the core values of the camp?
Regarding what?
I'm seeing
stand-asides. What are the core values of the camp?
Did you have a serious concern?
Yeah, I said it, mic check. I think it's important to realize that this is a public space. And the rules that we're attempting to impose would be applicable to private space. And even though we're occupying it as private space, the reason why we can is because it's public space. If we try to force people out, and it's not applicable to the law, we have no grounds. No, it's not. If somebody's smoking marijuana, you can't kick them out. It's a ticket. They can come right back in.
It empowers people to vote for the candidate they truly believe in while still voting for the most electable candidate. Right now, with local elections, candidates don't need a majority to win instant runoff. Instant runoff voting fixes this.
At the same time, it reduces the costs of campaigning and elections. So that's some of the background. So I guess we have clarifying questions.
Okay, so we'll now take clarifying questions for about 5 minutes. We'll need our stack taker, Ryan.
Sorry, we have to hold up.
That's okay. Maybe Justin, you could address her question if she still has a couple. So if we could take some clarifying questions now.
Let's get a small stack. 1, 2,
Up there.
3, 4. Okay, sorry, it's hard to see.
Okay, number 1.
Simple question. Can you provide a resource that you would recommend to educate oneself if you don't understand something? Just for better.
So I have some of my work group here while we're discussing this available. There's also some websites online if you have access to them, fairvote.org. But we're looking for a decision tonight so that we can go to City Hall on Tuesday and have the voice of Occupy Portland behind us to have success.
Just to clarify it a bit further, we would basically like Occupy Portland to say that they're behind this method of electing people, which instead of usually choosing between the two major parties, you can rank it 1, 2, 3, so that the end goal for this would be for the smaller parties to have more of a voice, for the two main parties not to be the only ones dominating politics, and for people to be able to vote for who they want to without feeling that their vote is being sacrificed.
Number 2.
I believe you just answered my question, but I just want to clarify. This is for, this is like basically a political statement from the General Assembly endorsing the, basically thrusting away the two-party system and saying we endorse a system where more voices can be heard and more choices are to be had, as opposed to the same BS paradigm of right versus left, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. This is more of an open democratic, a way to open up the city system to be more democratic and have more voices, correct?
Instant runoff voting is a tool to reach those eventual goals, yes.
Thank you. Just want to clarify, thank you.
Number 3.
And to further clarify, it's a very, the proposal itself is very short. It's just the General Assembly of Occupy Portland advocates for ranked choice instant runoff voting. And then as the first example of applying this would be at City Hall, utilizing the tool of the City Charter Review Commission, which would be great practice for us for trying to do other things using that tool. And at city elections, it's nonpartisan. So the first example would be making it more democratic for city elections.
Number 3. Number 3. Number 4.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Are there any negative consequences?
Are there any negative consequences
that you've come across?
That you've come across
with regard to instant runoff voting?
with regard to instant runoff voting?
And how does your proposal address them?
And how does your proposal address them?
The only negative feedback, well, this is what they use in the Bay Area, in Oakland, and in some other cities in America. It's also what they use for some of the national elections in Australia, in Ireland. I think they also use it for figuring out the Oscars and some others. But the only consistent concern has been that it's too hard for voters to figure out, that they don't feel that voters are smart enough. But I feel like in America, if we compare our intelligence to Australians, I don't want to say anything to that, but maybe we'll do okay, especially if it's visually explained, which it is in the Bay Area.
Okay, so it's been the allotted time for clarifying questions. I'd like to move on, if I can, to concerns for 10 minutes. So let's take a sec on concerns.
We got 1, 2, there another one over here that I didn't see? I know, I see you. I'm just trying to find people who haven't spoken too much before. There. 3. Is that it? Is there somebody I can't see?
What's?
Okay, 3.
Okay, great. We'll start with these first 3. Number 1.
Mic check.
Mic check.
The common complaint. Of instant runoff voting. When implemented in Vermont. Was that there was a politician elected. Who was not the majority. Of first-ranked politician.
Number 2.
Next up.
Please.
Thank you. One of my main concerns has been that a lot of people who are speaking, there are a lot of people watching online, and we can't be heard unless we're allowed to use the mic. And I don't think there's any reason why mic check needs to occur anymore when we actually have a mic. So if that's okay with everybody, I think that's an appropriate thing to be able to do. Especially because mic check seems to be really, really weak, as is our numbers at this particular meeting right now. So I would like to know why that's happening. This morning I came in and, hold on. Okay. I was taking care of the art tent. That is a huge portion of our occupation. It's a large tent, and it is responsible for making a lot of signs. Everyone keeps talking about signs. I have donated an enormous amount of stuff to that spot and want to know why there is no one actually there. Can you answer that for me?
I just have to ask you, save that for announcements because we're speaking about this specific proposal now. I think that's an important issue to address, but perhaps if you have an announcement about the art tent, you can do that at the end here. Okay. Great. So there's a direct response here.
Thank you.
Our 10 is much loved. And then we'll go to number 3, I believe.
So, in direct response to the case you brought out about Vermont, he did not, he had, you're talking about first choice votes. With instant runoff voting, people can mark a first choice, second, and third choice. In his case, I believe he did negative campaigning, which turned people off as a second and third choice. So he didn't understand how instant runoff voting changed the system that made negative campaigning a bad idea. So the candidate who won had a lot of second and third choice votes. So as candidates who didn't have it were knocked off, their votes got reapplied. So it's incorrect to say that he had the majority. He actually did not have the majority, and that can be explained further in discussion. But just to factually clarify, he did not have the majority as defined with instant runoff voting.
Okay, number 3.
I like this proposal.
I don't know what I have.
My only fear is there's not very many people here. I don't know if this group just really likes the proposal. Or if they're missing some portion of the GA.
I'm concerned that if we back this movement, or this proposal, and it fails on the state level, or city level, it'll look very bad for us.
Number 3.
I would speak in favor of this proposal. As a first step for some substantive electoral change. I don't think that we need to be concerned. As to whether something is viable or successful. We're doing something wholly new. And we can't let those fears stop us.
Okay, number 4.
My sentiment is along the same lines.
My sentiment is along the same lines.
If we are to actually have a successful movement,
If we are to actually have a successful movement,
it has to start one step at a time.
it has to start one step at a time.
And we're not going to have this all resolved in one night.
And we're not going to have this all resolved in one night.
This is a great start.
This is a great start.
Number 5, is that where we're at? Number 5?
Someone who said something a bunch of times before. I don't know who it was. You lost your number. That might be it.
Okay. So, having done that, and with some extra discussion time added there, I'd like to move us through the consensus process and move to see the consensus of the Assembly. I'd like to start with a rereading of the proposal as amended.
Okay, so the proposal is that the General Assembly of Occupy Portland advocates for ranked choice instant runoff voting, understanding that this is in itself insufficient, but that we will take small steps as well as large.
People around here know me as Rooster. This evening I am here representing the Multnomah Meeting of Friends, a bunch of Quakers, and we resolved this today, that we support social and economic justice. We oppose subservience to powerful financial interests, and we support Occupy Portland and other current nonviolent protests seeking justice.
Hello, my name is Grant Swanson. I'm the Vice President of Ask Me Local. Hello, my name is Grant Swanson. I'm Vice President of Ask Me Local 88. I am here to announce a couple of things. Our local officially endorsed you guys the day before the October 6th march, and one of our statewide committees, the Ask Me Environmental Caucus, donated $1,000 for vegan meals donated from Portobello, which should be about $2 a head, about 500 meals. And there are some other labor groups that have also donated some money, and they will be ratifying that tomorrow, hopefully. And so there will be some more vegan meals here coming soon. I just wanted to let y'all know.
Yay!
Sorry, one more thing. We're going to have a labor tent at the corner of 3rd and Main, and we don't have any signage on it yet. It's a big tent, but we'll be there for the duration if anyone has any concerns. It's open to all labor unions, not just the one I represent. Thank you.
Okay.